Doobie doobie doo.
Welcome to your awakening. Please take calm as your reality is adjusted.
Oh, yeah, right, that one. Oh, and it shuts. Hello, good people in the chat room. Good to see you again. I think the YouTube stream is going all right. It's already lagging on my browser, but it looks like it started okay. Just, yeah, let me know if it's still going. Yeah, I think it is. It's just lagging terribly. All right, cool. Hello. Welcome back again on this moon day evening. On the 8th of the 2nd, 2021. Today is the 8th, and this episode is number 18. Yeah, there's some loose connections to the 8, but anyway, yeah, just doing my usual, taking a mental note of the numbers as I do. Sometimes they do seem to correlate in unusual fashions, but anyway, let's get back. Hello to everyone in the chat room. Taz is in there. Society of Spectacle, Gary was in there. I think he's already had to go off though because of the curfew of the internet cafe in Spain where he is. But yes, he's still around. He's just not able to stay online long enough to join in. One must, hello in the chat room. Lots of tat throws. Hello, mate. Thanks for joining in. And Sidefish, hello. High Plains Drifter, hello. Scroll down quick. 9 Ether, hello. And Lynn Anderson, hello. You got cake. There always has to be cake. Simon Boyle, hello. And South, hello. Canal, hello. I'm starting to sing already. Just Space Goat Farts, hello. And Benno, hello. That's Dr. Rock in the chat. I'm sure we'll mention Dr. Rock's website as well later. I'll try and dig up the link to share so that we're giving you the correct sort of signpost. Reality Chat as Peter's account, hello. He's in the room. And Stewie, hello. Dave Iron, hello. Mascara Snake, hello. Roland Pete has joined us in the chat room tonight as well, in the room. Snowlands Pete. Just, there's been quite a fair bit of snow all over the place recently. I'm scrolling down. I'm trying to keep up with the chat room. The Rebel, hello. And CMB, hello. North Star 68, hello. Claire Sutherland, hello. New Being, hello. Faith Ferrer, hello. Scrolling. Oh, cool. Dutty, hello. That's T in the chat as well. He's just put the link in for Dr. Rock's website, or the Post-Truth Media website, where Dr. Rock hosts a show on there every Thursday night from 9 until around 11 or later. Sometimes, they're playing music as well, so it goes on after the 11. But he's doing that now regular on that website, so tune in if you want to. Cerebral Pisces, hello. Krishna, hello. Right, I think, my chat room's all caught up now. So hello to everyone, and hello to everyone who tunes in afterwards to watch the video after the live broadcast, or if you're just tuning in later and you missed the sort of shout out at the beginning. Sorry, but you weren't on time. You weren't in the room early enough when we started, so you missed it. But hello to everyone. Thanks for joining us. And back this week. I took last week off just because I needed to pull my head out of the stream of shit for a little bit. And, I didn't exactly go anywhere or do anything. And that's why we sort of got this set up now at the moment. I paid for a subscription on this StreamYard service because last year I didn't exactly get to go on my little holiday like I often have, where I like to go and just sit and stare at trees and stuff like this one. I'll show you, this was some video footage I took a couple of years ago, I think now. Yeah, but I didn't get to do that last year. So I thought, well, I've got that holiday money that I haven't spent on anything, so I'm going to invest it into, I'm saying invest like I'm going to get anything back, but it's not the point. It's just trying to make good use of it to serve some beneficial purpose for myself as well as everyone else, hopefully, or for more than just myself. Yeah, I'll turn that off for a bit. There's a bit of background hum off it because I left the audio on the imagery, but it was just to get that imagery of the tree moving in the sunlight. But yeah, I put some money into doing this so we could have some more functionality, so I can do things like play files straight from my system. I haven't organized anything in particular for this week because I wanted to just do a general sort of chat about everything that's been going on recently, because a lot of things seem to be coming to a head. So with a bit more functionality from this software, this StreamYard software, which is a really good bit of kit, a bit of software kit. If you're interested in doing your own broadcasting, it does what it says on the tin. It's quite easy to use. It's very user-friendly, and it's somewhat universal. I'm not promoting them in any way. I'm just saying that it is good stuff. It does what you want of it. It's not as functional as some of the other software out there, like OBS. You can't twiddle with it as much as you can with OBS. But if all you want to do is broadcast out to the public, or onto whatever, your own website or your own private chat group, whatever, it is a good bit of software to use, and it's more secure than crap like Zoom. I know there's a lot of software like this out there at the moment, but some of them either don't function very well, or they're glitchy, or they're highly vulnerable in various ways. Whereas as long as you're sensible with this, you don't share your links out unless you choose to, if you're doing a kind of open to the public setup. But if you don't share your links out, and it's a fairly secure system. So having sort of given us a bit more functionality out of it, we're going to carry on regardless, talking about the various stuff. I'll just put that one up for now, because that seems to be the most appropriate still, even though over the course of more than a year, the propaganda has constantly been repeating that once we've got the vaccines, everything will be back to normal. You'll be able to go back to your normal lives, and you'll be able to do wonderful things again. But no, now you got the vaccine, you still got to wear a mask, you still got to social distance, you still got to stay indoors. Hands, face, space bullshit. I think they need a new one that says something like potato ass insert, and see how many people just actually do it. See how many people turn up at an A&E department with a potato rammed up their butthole to find that the A&E is empty because nobody's going to the hospitals because they've all been told to stay indoors because of the COVID. I'm going to be really, really silly tonight because it is just getting to that kind of stage. But yeah, this week I thought, after having a break last week, I want to talk about just various stuff this week, because obviously there's a couple of weeks worth of stuff that has built up. And the reason for the subtitle being what it is tonight, it just seemed most appropriate to me at the moment. In the subtitle, in the info box, I usually put a little subtitle. It just says "Dancing in the Gaslight." I was thinking along the lines of that cheesy old song, Dancing in the Moonlight. But we have now got to the stage where the gaslighting has become so over the top, so overt, that they are relying on the public's dissonance in the face of the shock and awe tactics of the propaganda over the course of a year, that people will be so shook up and just not knowing how to deal with what they've just been told, that they won't really register the fact that they've just been told two completely opposing points of view. So, for example, the flu has disappeared, the flu has gone, COVID killed the influenza, yeah, but still go out and get your flu vaccine. Because I'm on one of their vulnerable lists, I got a invitation, as they call it, to get a flu vaccine a few months ago from the doctors. You know, they send out a letter each year saying, you're on the list to get a flu vaccine. Come in whenever you want to get it. Yeah? Or they'll send you an appointment or whatever. But if the COVID has killed the influenza, why are they still offering the flu vaccine? But the public just seems, you know, what are they doing with that information? Two completely opposing points of view, and they're trying to hold both at the same time. That's cognitive dissonance. You know, I heard a so-called communications expert talking to Anna Breeze the other week, earlier in this week, and she described cognitive dissonance as being when your subconscious child mind is upset that your wake conscious adult mind, you know, she referred to the conscious aware mind as being the adult and the subconscious as being the child. When your child mind receives information that it doesn't like, that's what she was trying to define cognitive dissonance as, which is not only incorrect, it's also very misdirecting as to how people's psychology works. Cognitive dissonance is trying to hold two opposing points at the same time. So do you believe that it's right? Yes. And do you believe that it's wrong? Yes. How do you put those two together at the same time? And the confusion that bounces between the two sides of the argument constantly. You know, your mind is left like a pinball bouncing backwards and forwards between the buffers. You can't do anything. You can't make any decision. You can't go any further with that information because you're stuck at this point of trying to accept both arguments at the same time. You can't do it. You know, some of that connects into classic paradoxes and why paradoxes are often used in hypnotism and in occult ritual behavior or dogma or doctrine. You know, the kind of paradoxes that make you or force your mind to sit in the middle for some reason. And it's a deliberate method to either confuse somebody or to open the possibility for contemplation. I'll put it that way, because from the point of view of things such as the classic question of, if a tree falls in a forest and nobody's there to hear it, does it still make a noise? Yeah, I know that's a bit of a cheesy cliche. It's a cliche because it carries a bit of truth and proves itself true again and again and again, but people get fed up of hearing it, so they call it a cliche because it just aggravates them. It's, oh, not that again. I'm fed up of hearing about that shit. I don't want to think about it anymore. Why? Is it because there is no easy resolution to the question? And that's the point. It's a question that is not meant to have an answer. It's meant to just force your mind to bounce off its own walls to the point that eventually, like the yapping dog of the ego that is represented on the full tarot card, you know, that is what that yapping dog represents, the monkey mind chatter, of forcing that monkey mind chatter to calm down and realize that it doesn't matter those walls, it can't break out of that cognitive box. That opens the possibility for contemplative meditation if you choose to use that paradox in that fashion. And all paradoxes really can be used in that fashion. They can be used as a seed to meditate on within your mind, you know. But in an abusive method, remember, technology can be used for either good or ill. Yeah? technology is a double-edged sword, another cliche, but proven true again and again. That those paradoxes can be used in an aggressive fashion to confuse people and trap them into cognitive dissonance because they don't really understand their own thinking. They don't really comprehend themselves very well. They don't know themselves very well. So when you put them into a thought pattern that is just circular and they end up chasing their own tail, they don't know how to deal with that situation. So they descend into some form of, I don't want to say psychosis because that's too pathological, but just in a confused tailspin, they will become agitated and anxious because they don't know how to resolve the problem that their mind is just going in a circle, round and round and round, chasing its own tail. Anyway, I've digressed a lot. Yeah, there's been quite a lot going on over this week. So I thought, now that I can have up to 10 people in the room, I sent out more than the usual invites. And we'll just chat about stuff in general. There's loads of stories that we could cover. There's loads of information and news that have been coming out. And the gaslighting has been pushed to an extreme. And that's why I thought we'll just call it dancing in the gaslight. Because that, it's not just the TikTok nurse dancing. If you can, it's kind of like looking at it as more of a metaphor. But the propaganda dancing, we had the literal dancing for those TikTok videos, but there is the same kind of dancing psychologically, cognitively, in the propaganda, where every time the people think they've reached the conclusion of the song and the dance is coming to its conclusion, no, they turn it around again. They create yet another paradox, yet another dissonance. So you're stuck on the dance floor, constantly dancing. There is also a more esoteric occultic connection with the celebratory dance for the sacrifice. And there's more to that in a long-winded discussion, which I want to go into, but I don't want to do it just as a monologue. I want us to just chat about stuff and it'll come out as we go along. I know it will. Because I'm going to say it in one way or another as we're talking. So if you guys are still there, join in.
Yeah, we're still here. I'm just thinking every time I go to the BBC homepage, it's always got the picture of the vax. Every day,
the needle,
the weeks and weeks, the needle or the guy holding it, or some woman sitting there getting one, or man, or whatever. It's every day you go on for weeks now. Just so I'd say that because it's just,
I'll point people to UK column again, and I think it was last week, one of the episodes they did last week, where Mike Robinson, isn't it? Mike Robinson was talking about how they'd done a little bit of statistical analysis, like one of the government departments, and he was quoting some of the documentation they'd put out, and it was talking about how their messaging, and when they say messaging, they meant propaganda. Their messaging was reaching every individual in the UK an average of 17 times per week, whether they were looking for information or not. So, in other words, they're letting you know that they have saturated the media to such a degree that even if you're not the kind of person who's looking for that kind of information, you're not like me who's like go online and go, oh, what they said about COVID today. Even if you're not interested in the news media, you will still encounter their messages on a billboard poster, on a bus stop, on the radio, when you're going to work, in the car. In some fashion, you will hear or see one of their messages up to 17 times a week.
And that paradox you talk about, makes no sense. Sending you mad. It's sending people, a year in now, and dancing in the gaslight. Yeah, it's a great title. I like that.
It's a year. I think I had a little rant about this on Wednesday, didn't I? But it's been a year, and yet people are still trying to drag up and argue and trip over information that came out at the beginning of last year. Talk about kicking the can down the road. I'm not sure if I said this when we were live last Wednesday. There is no can anymore. They just sort of waggle their foot in the direction of the road, and the public, or certainly the media perception or portrayal of the public, is that they all go running off down the road. I remember when I mentioned it, Tony said in the chat room, he said, yeah, it's like when you pretend to throw a ball for the dog. You've got the kind of dog that just loves chasing balls, and you just pretend to throw one. There is no ball, but the dog still goes boom, running off as if he's going to catch a ball from magically out of nowhere. Yeah. The gaslighting has got to the stage where they don't need to kick the can. They just sort of waggle their foot and off everybody goes, chasing the same arguments. Yeah. All the information about the vaccines. And now the evidence is just piling up day after day, more and more reports of how many people are dying a week or two after having the vaccine. But people are still arguing about whether this partially tested medical procedure, because it's not really a vaccine, is actually, any good or worth the risk, or even if you're allowed to choose the risk or not. Yeah. That to me proves that we are living in the age of gaslighting.
It's here. We said, yeah, it's been a while. I think people are now seeing it more and more. I think it's been here for a while, and they've got better and better, or not better at. It's more, as I've said for years, they just tell you now. They just tell you. Yeah. They don't hide it anymore. They don't try to cover things up. They'll just display it, and then they'll do this mind trickery on you via the propaganda. They'll say one thing, mean another, say it again, repeat it, then say the other thing again and repeat that again, and get everybody going, well, what are they all doing? Everyone's all over the place. And that was right from the start, wasn't it? And it's just gone on and on and on like that. Some people's mental health states, like you say, cognitive dissonance kicking in. It's not a healthy mental state to be in when your brain is, and you're arguing with people as well, when you're falling out with people or whatever. It's
like being tortured over a length of time. Eventually, you will crack.
Yeah,
your mind cannot cope with being stuck in cognitive dissonance over periods of time. That will cause a psychotic break in one form or another. People will have some form of breakdown. It could be part of the build up for some people leading towards suicide.
Yeah.
But
as an example, figure they're hiding and still are. As far as I'm aware, they've not released official figures of suicides for last year.
As an example of the gaslighting reverse statements, they're like, talk about dancing. They're doing 180 spins constantly, But the supposed Dr. Fauci, back in the middle of last year, saying masks are pointless. There's no point wearing them. Then not long after, he told everyone, oh, you should all wear masks now. It's a good idea to wear masks. Then not so long ago, he talked about wearing multiple masks, and other supposed experts came out and sort of backed up that point of view of, wear 2, wear 3, wear 4, wear 6 million.
Yes.
But only a few days after he'd said that, he then put out a statement saying, well, it doesn't really make any difference. So he just repeated what he said several months ago, that there is no statistical evidence. It's basically pretty pointless wearing a mask in the first place. But how many months has it been of that can kicking down the road, of him telling you one thing, then spinning 180, then spinning 180 again, then spinning 180 again?
And we've had it all year, like you say, in this country, every country's had the same bullshit propaganda about it being thrown at them to believe this thing and to, put in these measures throughout this last nearly year now.
The extra efforts that everyone has gone to over the course of the year has caused the total demise of the flu, of the influenza.
Disappeared, gone.
Oh, but you got to get your flu vaccine, folks. Get out there and get your flu vaccine. So hang on, didn't you just tell us that the flu doesn't exist anymore because your new COVID killed it off? So why are you telling us to get the flu vaccine? Is it because you've got a massive stockpile of vaccines that you want to sell? Need to inject them into somebody to, use them up.
I say we're just waiting for people to say, like I say, in some way, shape, or form, to push that back more than ever. Because maybe it's building, it's getting there. I don't know. It just seems that when you look at the mainstream, how damaging they are to society in general, what they've been doing, and what they are complicit of, like helping along, people's misery. In other words, they do nothing good. They don't promote anything good and wholesome and nice, and it's all. And if it is, they take the piss out of it, or something. You know what I mean? It's always that. Just keep going. It's awful. The media, it's terrible. It's got worse. It's, and this year, and well, forever really, but this year more than ever has exposed that more to people, and especially in the US as well, not just here, the UK. We've all seen through the bullshit years ago with this stuff, but it's now the veil's right down, and you can see this madness for what it is, and it is like sending people nuts a little bit. You just got to, realize it for what it is. They're just showing you how crazy they are. They will just deny everything, never process. There's evidence out there of some great stuff to bring some of these people down, and they're not even using it. They're not even doing anything with it. So, you're under some kind of other, there's another agenda.
But I think it is that House of Cards effect, though, because once you remove that one card of realizing that the majority of what you're being told and shown is a scam, it's just that, it's just a scam propaganda. But once you remove that card, it then leads to the next card falling, the domino effect, the House of Cards falling. Because if you attempt to take all that evidence into a court, which court is going to actually allow you to do that, or even process the case, allow you to bring litigation or whatever against these people that have perpetrated this shit? Because the people who are perpetrating this shit are part of that infrastructure that would include the judicial system. And when you've even got people like Lord Sumption, remember we talked about this months ago now. He is the retired head of the justice system in the UK. Lord Sumption came out and pretty much directly called this out as a dictatorship months ago, early in 2020. He posted an article that went somewhat viral. He directly called it out as this is dictatorial. And yet even now we've still got the same. Got enough evidence that you could present a court case. You then got to get a court that would actually allow you to do that. That would reveal of how intertwined the infrastructure is. So once that is revealed, that would pull that down, which would pull down the bureaucracy above it of those people that are supposedly in positions of power. The whole House of Cards will come tumbling down. Now then, this brings us to the sticking point of the cognitive dissonance, because for so many people, this year has been a mass red pill on the population. Many countries, it's been a massive red pill in different ways for so many people. But that situation of people realizing just how far this thread goes and how far up the pyramid it connects, their subconscious mind is saying to them, or indicating to them, if you pull that thread, the entire House of Cards that as your world will fall apart. I know we've talked about this, and I've put this idea across many times in the past. If you pull that thread, your world dies. So that is like a mortal threat to themselves. So the way the mind works, it isolates that thought, and it will either suppress it or it will keep people stuck in that dissonance dance. So people don't want to accept it because they know subconsciously that once they pull that one card, the whole thing comes down. This is just, I'm not going to play the video. If Taz hasn't already put the link in the side chat, and I'll put the link in a sec. This is from a channel, I think Gary shared this. We talked about that a few times over the last couple of weeks. While I'm looking at it, I'll just copy the link and stick it in the chat for you. You might get some infinity loop for a moment or two with the two screens showing. But that is showing a cafe in Manchester that had opened up, taking part in the great reopening idea. They're just opening up and running, and you can see it's full of a mixture of people, and they're all happily enjoying being in the cafe. You can't quite see them at the back. There's two coppers there talking to one of the business owners. And as the situation progresses, this news hit RT and some of the other main news as well today. But this is more of a direct sort of on the scene video recording. The only thing is I'm not sure what language they're speaking. It could be Romanian or Lithuanian. Taz has suggested as well. It could be Lithuanian, but we're not sure. But obviously it's not in English. So unless you can translate it or something, I don't know exactly what they're saying. But you can see the situation progress. The copper persuades the guy to come outside to talk. And that was obviously a premeditated means to be able to lay hands on him to arrest him. Because the coppers would have known, especially this one in the yellow, because he seems to be the man baby that got triggered and upset at the situation. I don't know what the business owner said to him, but he obviously got really triggered. But they would have known that if they'd tried to arrest the guy in the shop, they would have been stuck in that little shop with all those people. Even if those people are totally peaceful, the two coppers would have found it extremely difficult to try and get out. So they tricked him, they persuaded him to come outside to talk, and then literally the moment he's outside the door, look, boom, the copper's on him. If I mute it and just try playing it, just see that one bit. Look, outside the door. Now he's over the line of his business, even though I know legally you can argue that your business extends beyond the front door, but just as he gets outside, he jumps on him, and then the situation progresses into more silliness, and the copper starts throwing punches at him. And the guy's not fighting back. He's just, not allowing himself to be thrown around. But the two coppers eventually end up arresting him. And at the moment, as far as I know, it's just in a situation of the GMB or GMP will be investigating it.
People can see this. Look at the locals watching this happening in their local area. It's shocking, and they'll be thinking, "What have they done wrong?" Really, nothing. To be arrested for opening a shop or refusing to wear a mask or something, whatever it is, it's just gone crazy. Like you say, everything's gone mad.
The crowd there were all shouting shame at them.
And that vibrates to all the communities all around. All this, this energy, and they've got, this is what's happening, and people again, it's over the top policing for something like this. Definitely, it's abuse of power again. Abusing their power.
You know what that is, yeah? A dog unit.
Dogs for the dogs, yeah.
Yeah. Why would they bring a dog unit to a situation like that? Intimidation tactics. That's the dog handler.
Yeah.
So why did they get him to turn up?
Looks more menacing.
Yeah, exactly. Intimidation tactics. Yeah. It's just nasty. It's really, despicable and nasty the way they treated the situation. Especially sort of tempting him to come outside just so that they could put hands on him. And all the people inside, quite happily, near the start of the video, you can hear them telling the coppers to go away, to leave. Similar to the videos we saw coming out of Italy. The population, the customers in the business are just telling the coppers, "We don't need you here. We don't want you here. There's no criminal activity happening. Go away. Leave us alone." Yeah,
he's going about your daily business. This is where they can't leave it alone. It seems maybe in Italy did they backed off and let them. I didn't see anything. I didn't see any stuff coming out of Italy when they all opened up illegally. Then when it wasn't allowed.
They did, and the times. Well, from the few videos I saw, the times when coppers were actually in the premises, they left them alone.
Yeah,
and not long after that day, a few days after. The government put out not so much statements, but certainly they were rumouring that, we're going to ease the restrictions on those kind of businesses now anyway. And the French said pretty much the same a few days later. So we're going to ease the restrictions on cafes and restaurants, and we're going to allow them during the day. Not like back to normal kind of thing, but, you know, we're going to ease the restrictions a bit. They know how hard they can press. Yeah. And then they monitor the social media reactions. You know, I've talked about this a few times, how the part of what they're doing is the data monitoring.
Scooping up everything, yeah.
The public's reactions. They go, oh, no, you're pressing a bit too hard. Pull off just a little bit. Right, okay, they'll tolerate that much. So we stick at that point. Yeah. It is an endurance test. And it's a way that they are perfecting you could call it like the tolerance levels when an engineer is working on an engine. And you figure out the tolerance levels of the engine itself, you know, the style of the build and the materials that have been used in that engine or whatever. And, you know, you can only take you can only take the meter up that far. And if you push it too much, it will start falling apart kind of thing, Yeah. She can't take it, Captain.
I was about to say that, yeah.
Part of the reason why they wanted us all on social media so that they could monitor that social output, so that they could find the tolerance levels for tyranny. Yeah. Can we push you this far before you get really mad? Yeah, okay, we can take it that far, and you'll just accept it.
Yeah.
Cookie, can I just interject at this point?
Yeah.
Chapman's bringing up a very good point. Kerno was saying that obviously they've been trained in common purpose, which as we know, there have been, and also in neuro-linguistic programming. So,
yes,
I take it that a lot of people have watched the videos. What they'll do is they'll come in numbers, and then you see all of the coppers. They're all shouting things down, all like they're all talking one at a time. That is deliberate. You know, so they'll find like, who are you? What are you doing? Blah blah blah, and it's to like psychologically like totally throw you. You know, that they've been trained to do that, which your average person intimidation, exactly, Peter. So you know, it's to like totally bamboozle you, you know. So if ever you come across like these goons and they're all shouting, just let them shout. Just let them shout. You just don't say anything, shout and go, then just say, have you finished? You know, take me to your leader. Which one's going to talk? I ain't going to talk to all of you. I'll talk to one of you. Do you know what I mean? I'm just like, try and diffuse the situation, because they will psychologically screw you deliberately. So just, you know, be aware of that.
I want to be a little bit pedantic.
Go on then.
Just in that the police themselves, like the average Bobby and whatever. I say, you know, it's no such thing as the average Bobby, but you know what I mean. The average officer, they're not taught NLP in the sense of they are told, I am going to teach you NLP, and they study a course of NLP or no, they're just instructed what to say. They are instructed how to behave with the suspect or the arrestee or whatever, and how to question them. They're not told that what they're being taught or what they're being instructed to say is NLP. Very rarely would they be told that directly. If anything, that would be counter to the general common purpose training. The common purpose training doesn't want the recipient to comprehend what they're being told, really. They just want them to learn it to repeat by rote. So they don't understand the psychological effect that they're exploiting. They just repeating a mantra that they've been taught.
And also that they talk at 100 miles an hour. I have noticed that. It's like they say it very, very quickly. It's like, what's your name? What are you doing here? What are you doing? Where are you going? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's all like, whoa, 40,000 questions in like 1 minute. Like,
that is deliberate psychological pressure.
Yeah, exactly.
They're trying to exploit the shock effect that most people feel when I was going to say constable again, but again, that's rare and few and far between.
They're all officers now. There's no constable.
For most people, if you get stopped by the police and they start asking you questions, most people immediately get highly anxious. because they're a law-abiding citizen just going about their day-to-day, and all of a sudden they've got this image of authority expressing authority onto them. Yeah. So most people initially are somewhat, you could say, scared, but that's, pushing it, not necessarily true for everyone, but certainly anxious. Yeah, I think what goes through most people's minds at first is like, shit, what have I done? Yeah. So what's he trying to get before? What have I done? Am I in trouble? Yeah. But that's what they're relying on. They know that most people will be in a state of shock or anxiety, so they push, because they know psychologically, if you're in that state of mind, you are more likely to let something slip or trip over a lie if you're trying to lie to them, etc.
Yeah, and that's built in through childhood as well.
They gauge your emotional reaction while they're doing it as well.
Yeah,
I was going to say,
and then they lie. They do lie. That's
built into when you're a child, when you're growing up. And that sort of, naughty policeman going to get you. And there's that, they dress a certain way and colours and things. So danger or something's wrong. You see a policeman or whatever, that's the sort of
the black and yellow.
Yeah, when you're growing up, and then you got the ambulance and the fire brigade and the policeman will that's what when you're a child, the police is gonna and you behave then.
Yeah, and I've noticed that they say, what are you fidgeting for? What are you do? You look nervous. What's wrong with you? Do you know what I mean?
Suspicious of you straight away, and then the one of, like I say, reaction from you, psychological, like you say, it's all working on your head.
Yeah, exactly. Just trying to put you totally off kilter, so you don't know what ways up or anything. So just imagine that these people take the uniform off. Do you know what I mean? You're no different from me. You bleed too. So wind your neck down about 40 foot. So calm yourself down.
It's not something that I think can necessarily be applicable to everyone, but most people can learn to deal with them in one way or another. And I think the best overall advice is avoid them at all times if possible.
Definitely.
So unless you've got a reason to, just don't engage with them. Yeah, that's the try and stay in the position of the questioner, not the questionee. Because that's part of the trickery that they play on you. That's partly psychological, but it's also to do for legal reasons, because they use that questioning tactic to entrap you into joinder, and that's how they claim their authority over us. Because authority comes from consent of the governed, their supposed authority, and they are just an instrument of the authority of the people. So they're operating basically as a tool for that law, that legal, lawful structure, the judiciary. So in that way, they have to attempt to trip you up to get you into a verbal contract, basically. That's what it comes down to, is creating a verbal contract that gives them, by your consent, authority over you. So, and I know this has become very much of a cliche over the past decade, people talking about this kind of stuff, but it's why they will classically ask you, do you understand?
Yes.
Because if you say, yes, I understand, that means you are standing under their claim for authority. And by providing an answer to that question, you are accepting joinder with them, because the question itself is an offered contract. By asking, by positing the question to you, it's the same as them pushing a piece of paper under your nose saying, do you want to sign this contract? And when you answer, no matter how you answer, if you give an answer, then you are agreeing to be part of that contract. So whether you say, yes, I understand, or no, I don't understand, that's still an answer to the question. So you are now in joinder with them. Yeah, so you are accepting and consenting to their claim of authority by that badge that they are operating as a tool for. So the best thing to do like I say, if you're forced to communicate with them, like if they, put their hands on you or they corner you or that kind of thing, or they insist for whatever reason, then stay always with the question. So easily, if they ask you, do you understand? You say, understand what, officer? Yeah. Well, I'm asking you to tell me your name and address. Why do I need to tell you my name and address, officer? Do you suspect me of something?
Yeah.
Are you planning to detain me, or am I free to go?
Do you suspect me of a crime?
Exactly.
Did I break any law?
Yeah.
Have I broken any law?
Yeah, unless you, the way that it is with regards to their PACE, which is the Policing and Criminal Evidence Act, something like that. Anyway, I think it's Section 24. Unless you've committed a crime, which then the onus is on them to prove that, they have to. Whoever makes the claim has to bring the proof. Unless they're suspecting you of a crime, you
reasonable
do not have,
suspicion.
Yeah, you do not have to give your name and address.
They can, in certain circumstances, they can claim that you have to go with them to the station to provide those details, and they have a power of detainment or arrest to fulfill that requirement. But, and I've never experienced this myself, thankfully, but I've learned this from other people. What will generally happen is, they'll take you back to a station, and the station sergeant will demand to see your name and address and blah, blah, blah. And if you furnish it, that's it, job done. And they might, if they want to be arseholes, which, is within their remit, they can hang on to you for several hours, even overnight. So if you refuse to provide details when required, in some situations, they could keep you overnight somewhere just because you didn't do what they demanded when they demanded it.
In the lowlands, it's mandatory to have identification on you when you go outside. So here it's a catch-22 when you cannot provide or don't want to provide the identification, then they'll say, okay, you broke the law, you don't have any identification on you, so herefore you're under arrest, and we'll take you to the police station and fine you, and we'll figure out who you are. So there's no escaping here.
Just don't be naughty.
As far as I know, and I'm no legal expert, this is not legal advice, blah blah blah. As far as I know, in the UK, they can't do that except in some rare circumstances, depending like where you own private property and shit like that. But they can't force you to provide details. There is no mandate to carry papers with you and things like that.
No.
Papers, please.
Here you do.
How long's that been in there? How long's that been out there for? That particular law?
For the last 10 years, I think.
10 years.
Yeah.
It was when they were going with the ID thing. Here, you remember the ID card? Remember in the UK, pushing for that.
Since the 90s, at least, they keep repeating it. Now it's turned into the health passport. That's another element of the vehicle of the COVID bullshit.
And they're still working on it.
Perfect excuse to demand that everyone has ID papers. It's just they'll call them health passport.
And remember, the ID does not belong to you. How many times have you, you even look at your debit card and this belongs to the bank. If found, please return to. Remember, it's not your. That is not your ID.
No, property of the Regis.
Correct.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not yours.
Murph has put in the chat. Yeah, it's not. Oh, that jumped just as I clicked on it. Sorry, Dr. Rock. Yeah, the ID is not actually yours. It's theirs. They own it. Within their paper world bullshit, it's actually their bits of documentation, not yours.
And that's why they also they hold your ID, they hold it in front of you, and then go, "Is this you?" Well, think about it. How can I be a piece of plastic? Or of course, it's not me. Yeah, I'm sitting here. Of course, it's not me.
I think it's
all trickery. All trickery.
I think it's good as well to put in at this point a couple of caveats. One, be careful with some of the information, because even though it may be true, it may be accurate, correct, it may be philosophically, logically sound and lawfully accurate, it's not actually practicable within day-to-day society, because it will cause you more trouble than it will actually help you to escape or get out of or whatever. So just be careful how you interact with those officers of the judiciary, whatever badge they're wearing, because if they want to, they can stick you in the back of a van and give you a kicking, and they'll just, hide it behind the blue line kind of bullshit. And as well, in this current environment, the way it's built up over the decade plus at least, if you start trying to make some statements in the kind of fashion like we're talking about, like that document is not me, officer, what, are you mad? Are you a follower of the dead? You're listening to dead entities speak to you through bits of paper. You're insane. If you try and explain these philosophical truths to them, they will just categorize you. They'll pathologize you as being schizophrenic or psychotic, and they will then push you into the care system in the UK. And I know this is true in other countries as well that have the same kind of judicial system. So gauge the situation and don't get yourself into the shit just because you feel a need to prove yourself right with some twat who's wearing a uniform. They are,
just have fun.
To a large degree, they are twats in uniforms, and that's pretty much what you're trying to deal with.
Just have fun with it. Laugh, smile, be happy. Don't be aggressive. Stay calm, and you'll get through it.
The other caveat I want to put in as well is be careful of and beware of some of the people that you might encounter, and you get a lot of them online and a lot of them on YouTube, who do this kind of interaction with the police just because it's clickbait. They deliberately try to escalate interactions with the police so that they can get good video clips to stick on YouTube to earn money out of monetization.
Yeah, don't agree with those.
Beware of people that try to trick you into that kind of shit, and be aware. This, I think, is just one of those things that should be a given now in this environment. It's one of those, it needs mentioning, but it should be obvious to most people now. There is so much interference that takes place in these online mediums that you have to be careful of people who try to encourage you to do that kind of thing. So the kind of statements that you'll get, like, why don't you just go out and punch a copper if you think this kind of shit? And it's like, well, what are you encouraging people to do, mate? You're encouraging people to get fucked up by the system. Yeah? The kind of stuff we're talking about are lawful truths, philosophical truths, the reality of how the system works, etc., etc. But if you try to confront some arsehole in a uniform when he's having a bad day with some of this information, you're going to have a really unpleasant time, and it could potentially fuck up the rest of your life. Yeah? Be careful with this kind of stuff, and don't get yourself into the shit just because some twat on YouTube or on some other platform thinks it's a good idea to aggravate the police for no good reason. Yeah.
No, stand your ground.
Even I would say even going to a protest is bullshit. These organized protests that be there 10 o'clock on a Saturday, and then be there with your sign, get your signs ready, nice and painted, and
get your pussy hat on.
And then we riot or something. No.
Please make your way to the designated protest area.
Yeah.
I never quite understood that, Days. You can protest, but you have to do it over there. You go, yes, sir, massa, yes, sir.
Make sure you pass this camera and smile. It's all a bit. Yeah, I don't know. Who are those organizers in the first place, and what are their backgrounds?
Agenda. What's their agenda? What are they getting out of it? That's what I always think.
What's the point? You always get directed to the same place and the same spot, and you get 5 minutes on BBC coverage and all the outrage on Twitter, and It's always the fucking same scenario, basically.
That's another good one to mention while we're talking about who not to talk to. The
Keep
mainstream
on.
media, or the should call them really like the legacy media, because they are pretty much old paradigm, done and dusted now. But people like the BBC don't even bother trying. I've had one personal experience with trying to interact with them, and I've seen probably many hundreds, if not tipping up over 1,000 examples of people having the same experience. You can say one thing to them, you can present all the information, you can make all great arguments, you can put it across in a fantastic fashion that's not stomping on people, you're not offending anyone. The BBC takes it to the editing room floor, and when you see it on the news, you're a crazy tinfoil hatter, like, wailing at the moon or some other stupidness.
Yeah.
Don't trust them at all.
Trust them
Full
as far
stop.
as I could throw them.
Even if they come to you saying, "Oh, we promise we'll give you a fair shake, we'll listen to what." Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. They are notorious for entrapping people in that fashion. If you see the legacy media, BBC, Sky News, whoever, don't trust them at all. Don't bother trying to get a message through them, because it won't go anywhere. You'll just be giving them ammunition to create spun bullshit. They'll spin it and turn it.
One thing I would say, you can use their platform to send an alternative message out, like in their comments.
Culture jam them, yes, absolutely, mate. Yeah, and the best one ever, going back in the day, a few years after 9/11, and I'm trying to remember if it was Fox or CNN, and I can't remember now. But there's a one scene with who's the guy with the big mustache? Was it Geraldo? Something like that, some American presenter, and he's talking to the camera, and they're doing like a live on the scene kind of thing, and obviously you got the street behind him and whatever, and you just get all these people turning up with signs. I think it was CNN, and it just says CNN lies, CNN is talking bullshit, and they're just all standing behind him holding the signs up.
That's a great idea. I like that.
That's cool.
There's a lot of different ways. You can do it. I was even thinking last week, like graffiti work, like old school stuff. There's a lot of different ideas you can do. Like
chalk division.
Just don't plan it on Facebook or Twitter.
Exactly.
Don't post that on Facebook. Let's do that. No, that's a bad idea.
It's another element that I would hope that most people are somewhat aware to now. Please don't be under the naive illusion that just because a chat room is private somewhere on one of these platforms, that you organising some kind of action or protest or whatever is going to go unnoticed by the authorities. No, it's been noticed. Yeah.
The rebels put up a good point. Cops are paid antagonists. People need to remember that. Yeah.
Revenue collectors. Revenue collectors. Sorry, fuck. Yeah. Revenue collectors.
Yeah, that's it. They're officers. Yeah, they're officers. They're, they're still out nicking people, while the rest of the world burns. Nobody's got any money, but how long are we still out there fining everybody? How does that help? How does that help?
That's exactly how they break up these peaceful protests they organize. And then they put some undercover cops in there, and they start throwing rocks at the cops, so they have a legitimate reason to slam it down.
Agent provocateurs.
Just like some of them,
they get caught on video a lot lately, but they don't give a shit. They're called Romeos here. Romeos called.
Sometimes the video seems to be in just the right position to catch all the action. Funny coincidence, that, isn't it?
Yep.
I was going to say as well, a bit like the situation at the Capitol not so long ago in the USA. I haven't got the article pulled up to screen share. I didn't bother going to look for it before we started, but I want to give it a mention because it connects into that kind of situation. In Time magazine recently, they published an article talking about how there had been a secret cabal of Democrats and other associated supporters that worked to protect the election and to make sure that it was a fair and sound election so that their chosen Messiah, Biden, could get into power. And the whole thing is worded in such a way, it's in my liked videos playlist, channel used to be called Press Reset. I think he's
Press
now
Reset Earth.
Yeah, he's now changed his channel name because of all the Great Reset silliness, because it didn't exactly fit in very well. His channel's now called Resisting the Reset, and he did a video called "Time Shamelessly Admits a Secret Cabal Conspired to Steal the Election from Trump." In the article, they're basically saying they tried to spin the argument that they needed to protect the election from influence so that, they could have a free and fair election. So they were influencing the election to make sure that it wasn't influenced by anyone else.
Got nothing to do with a cyber attack then, that's been well documented.
And
Well,
it's now...
Biden said it, right? Biden said it. We have the most elaborate voter fraud thingy organization ever.
Yeah.
That's what he literally said. So I don't know, and they did.
Wow.
Facebook was in it, Google was in it, Twitter was in it.
Yeah. So they just blatantly admitted there was a conspiracy to affect the outcome of the election, but they've spun it to try and claim that it was a good conspiracy. So therefore it's okay. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's all a big farce.
They saved democracy. Yeah. That's
this is why I was inclined, I talked about at the start, talking about that kind of gaslighting and how the dissonance now is so extreme that they can publish an article like that and think that, people will just swallow it.
We saved democracy by committing a coup.
Yeah.
That's literally what they're saying. And they put up all the evidence, all the key players.
Yeah.
And it's shameless. But it has been that under Obama as well. They were pretty out there, like, not giving a shit on what we thought. That's why Trump won. I think that's what the main
Trump did win.
For and again he won again. Sure.
Most likely.
The first court case is now accepted by the higher courts there.
Oh right, I thought it was still pushed out.
No.
I thought they'd given up on incorrect application for evidence or some other technical bullshit.
Well, it's just looking at one of the comments, Kendo there. Hi, Ken. How you doing? Says that Trump has proved what we already knew. Really, the elections are rigged. We already know that
everything is rigged.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the revealing, the revelation that's happened over the course of this event, this situation. And this is, again, why I say we've got to this kind of frenzied stage of gaslighting. I was tempted to put in the subtitle tonight, the frenzies of the death dancers. But I thought it sounds a bit overly dramatic, and I was worried that the algorithm would pick up on the death bit and whatever, and just whatever. But my point was trying to get across the idea, the concept that their propaganda and their spin, their 180 doublespeak spin constantly is getting more and more extreme and overt because the lies are falling apart. The house of cards is collapsing. So they've got to a stage where Time magazine thinks it can get away with posting such an absolute bullshit argument. That article that tries to spin that situation to such a ridiculous degree. If anything, that should be a good indicator that the situation is getting to some kind of resolution, or certainly to a breaking point, because they are becoming so extreme. Like the reason I was saying about the kind of esoteric connection, a lot of big ceremonial events for sacrificial reasons, there would be a celebratory phase before the sacrifice. And that celebratory phase would usually have elements of physical expression. So in other words, it include things like dancing. Yeah, and we talked before about things like, remember the opening of that tunnel?
In
God,
Switzerland. Was it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
with the strange
That
sort
was
of occult
creepy.
ceremony dance thing
Yeah.
at the beginning. That kind of thing. You see, when you start using that as almost like an analogy, if the entire situation was like a sacrificial ceremony, then what we've experienced for a good part of last year with all the TikTok dancing bullshit and whatever is that dancing element while the ceremony is taking place. So that's why I thought that phrase, the death dancers, you know, the people who are doing this shit, like some of the, I'm not saying this to be disparaging to all medical workers, people who work in the healthcare and whatever, but I cannot comprehend how some of those people, the nurses, etc., doing those silly dances while there's people dying because of the bullshit of the propaganda.
Yeah.
I struggle to comprehend how they can do that in their mind and think there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah,
and dance so badly as well. Have you
They
seen?
think they're
Sorry,
doing a good
hello.
thing. They think they're doing a good thing, man. Their heart's in the right place, and that's
I don't
they're
think-
being used
yeah.
by the control system, and that's what the control system's
Yeah.
good at, like using your best intentions against you. You know.
But
That's
and
true.
the underlying thing, it is a Baal, Moloch kind of a thing that's happening. It is a ritual that it's unwittingly performed, probably.
Mm.
You know, but
Performed in
it all
ignorance.
fits in the death cults. Yeah, seriously.
They're
That-
dancing through time. They're in control. They're showing you they're in control through time, dancing through time.
Mhm.
Through the
Right,
start of that bridge and through the even through was it the 2012 Olympic Games?
Yeah.
Like that Olympic, the occult symbology in that, I think that kicked it off to a large degree.
Yeah.
You know, them kids in bed and
Good
Boris
point,
being ill in bed and death hanging over him, and
Even the
Yeah.
imagery of
Wow.
the thing, the virus thing that they dangle down in the middle.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just like the same kind of iconic imagery that they keep showing us.
ISIS destroyed the temple of Baal, and then they got rebuilt in London and in New York, I think.
They like to do it right in front of your face and flaunt it that they're doing it in front of your face, but it's just beyond your reckoning. You know, it's just out with your sense of control. Or
Well, the death cult is handing out medicine now, so.
This is why I've been inclined to call it that sacrament, because it has reached a religious level. Well, it's not that it's reached it; it was there all along. It's just it's become more apparent, you know, and it's become, I think, more
it's here.
Internalized by a lot of people. A lot of the public have just accepted it as being the way it is, like the new church of new normal. You know, it's the church of the new normal. Have you received your sacrament yet? Have you been entered into the annals of the new church by receiving your injection?
It is like a new church because it's an invisible enemy, so it's an act of faith to believe in it. Just like the climate change agenda that they're trying to shoehorn in more and more. So just like that sees you as a cancer upon the earth, that you were born guilty, that you've got something to atone for your carbon footprint. So it wants total control of your carbon, digital, and physical footprint. You know, it sees you as a cancer on the earth. You know what I mean? So that's what we're up against.
The great reset to take us into the new normal, to cement the new normal.
Abnormal.
Yeah, and that's taking you into the whole thing is a catalyst for the cashless society and social credit system, and that's how they smashed everybody up before they went into it with the ID politics, man. That's why there's no unified resistance to it. This is what's going on now.
Yeah, everybody's stuck in their own little bubbles of delusional individuality. I am an individual. Look, I've got a leather jacket, just like all the other individuals with leather jackets. I know that's been disparaging and stereotyping for a lot of people, but that is the mode of operation that the big corporate beast has fallen into, because that's what suits it.
And that's
appealing to the popular vote because that generates the most income.
And they're wanting everything done through the megacorps nowadays. That's why they're smashing small and medium businesses.
Yeah.
Everything's to be done through the megacorporations, centralisation of control.
I think what's also worrying is the change in your biology with this thing, which is interesting. As we know, this thing, once you have it, it's in. It doesn't, it changes something. It's whatever and whatever it does, but it's different from what we've had before. And that sort of, I was telling Cookie before I came on, watching a movie called, was it Titan? It's a crap movie, but it's funny because how these people are sort of prepared to go and live on another planet, and how they put them through these rigorous tests. It's a real, cheeseball film, but in the times we're living in now and the things that they're trying to do to us, and you think, God, we're just like guinea pigs, aren't we? They're rolling out vaccines that haven't been really tested at all.
Lab rats.
Yeah, just literally just there's one after the other. I've just lost count of them all now. I just don't know how many there are. I don't care, but it's just gone crazy. And to think that they've changed this. This is something different to what people have had before. What's doing or what it could do.
Nubian, sorry, Peter. Yeah, Nubian saying, do you think they've had underground experiments for years, read the effects and side effects of this new vaccine, medicine, gene therapy? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
they know exactly how we work, but now they're going for more deeply into like genetically manipulating our gene sequence.
Could talk about that for hours. I think they've had that. I think there's a control system that's had that sort of technology for thousands of years, to be honest.
And then you have a better connection to Neuralink, as we've said. These shit that Musk is, pushing and promoting all the time.
Well, this is, I sort of speculated this kind of thing over the last, I don't know, was it last week or the week before or something? All the weeks are merging together. It's all becoming much of a muchness. But I made this point about, why is it that Billy Gates Gruff is the one pushing the vaccine so much? Is it because the vaccine is the operating system in the same way as Microsoft Windows on your computer hardware is the operating system?
Yep.
Yeah, and this now is an article on the Humans Are Free site. Thanks, Taz, for sharing this.
And he perpetuates his own marketplace with antivirus software updates.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the other guys that posted the link, but you're welcome.
Oh, right. Okay.
Right.
Well, you posted many links and they're always good stuff. So, yeah, thank you. And thanks to whoever did post it. But, this is sort of backing up what I was just speculating about. I suggested, the reason why he wants to sort of get in and corner and monopolize that market is because this will be the new operating system to steadily replace the human immune system. Mm-hmm. So from some of the evidence that's been coming forward, and certainly over the last couple of months since they've been rolling out the vaccine push, we've had this effect where there are now just every day there's more and more reports coming in of people dying not long after, within a week or two of having the vaccine. And UK Column reported this today as well. This is from a whistleblower in the care homes. Let me just get to that point there, where this is a chat room of care home managers. And these are the posts that they've been posting over the last few weeks, where pretty much all of them, all the ones that are posting, are all saying they've had the same effect. They've been supposedly COVID-free. I'm only saying that because it's the alleged illness. They've been supposedly COVID-free for the whole 12 months of last year, and now they've had the vaccine been brought in, and within a week or two, they've had loads of people dying within their homes, and nearly like every message is the same. And then the last one they show, I think, just says it all. We had the same, nothing for 12 months, vaccines, and then an outbreak a week later. I see a pattern emerging. It's bizarre. And this is the thing to it. This is what I was on about, the cognitive dissonance of the gaslighting effect. Keeping people's brains dancing in a spin, never being able to connect to the obvious evidence that, oh yeah, you old people in your care homes, we're all fine. You know, you've been looking after them, you've been taking care of them, and then they get this injection, and boom, they're all infected, and they start dropping like flies. But you cannot accept to connect the two, the evidence to the pattern, because if you do, that's like I was describing earlier. That's you pulling that card out from the bottom of the house of cards. You know the whole thing's going to fall down.
It's too much to accept for a lot of people, what
Yeah.
it implies.
It is so abhorrent that your mind is blocking it to you. It won't allow you to select that option, because it knows that once you do, your whole world's going to fall apart. You're going to feel like your world's been killed off, just like all these elderly people that are dying.
It's your belief engine. Your belief engine has stalled. You've got a new operating system. It's an attack on your existential beliefs.
Yeah, needs an update to the new abnormal. You get the
Midlife
latest
crisis.
upload, yeah. But this is why I think, why has Gatesy boy positioned himself the way he has? Because their intention overall, I'm saying there, yes, I'm using the loose label, you know, there's loads of people that you could put into that label box, but their intention is to gradually get rid of the human immune system, or to permanently, perpetually suppress it, so that therefore you're forced into buying or accepting their concoctions to replace the now lost immune system. Yeah, there's probably more threads that lead out of that situation into things like transhumanism and gene modification. But the primary goal, I think, is shut down the human immune system.
Redevelop it and redesign it. And
well, you cannot tell me that Bill Gates doesn't know what these vaccines do, because he has been doing this for 20 years, and there have been many things gone wrong.
In India,
in a sense for the victim, but not for Bill, because Bill now can check a list. Okay, this causes infertility. This causes that. This causes all those things.
He's got a lot of experience in the field now.
Oh fuck yeah! And just look in India, Africa, and all those third world countries where he has been. So yeah, he knows. We get the best stuff. But that's good.
I'm not certain on this, but I seem to remember it's been mentioned that there's still an arrest warrant for him in Kenya. Yeah, because of the damage from the polio vaccine that they trialled over there. I'm pretty sure it was Kenya. It's either Kenya or India. I know there's one of them that there is an arrest warrant outstanding for him.
Yeah, he did a few continents. He's in the continents, and
I think Tess posted the link about Peru as well. They have kind of rejected the whole COVID idea and the whole scam.
Is it in the private chat or a different one?
No, I was on the Skype.
Oh, right, okay. I'll scroll through, see if I can find it. But yeah, this is the situation as it stands now. I think we're well beyond the Rubicon. We've gone beyond the Rubicon, and then we went back over it again to get some sandwiches, and we come back again.
Yeah.
They even sacrificed Captain Tom. COVID control to Captain
The Rubicon
Tom.
of ridiculousness.
It's time to have your vaccine and put your face mask on. I'm trying to find it, so talk amongst yourselves while I scroll back.
And now it's time for a short interval.
There you go, 1 second. I got just the thing. And hopefully I've altered it just enough so that the algorithm won't be too offended by it.
Jaguars earlobes, wolf sniffles, get them all there. They're lovely.
You start showing some memes when you're playing this.
Going up.
Only half a day now.
3rd floor.
Third floor, COVID jab, eugenics. I can't find it. I think I'm I'm suffering that male pattern blindness. I'm probably looking right at it and just not seeing it. No. Okay, I'm gonna just share some memes instead. Because I don't know why I'm just not seeing it.
I've just dropped the link in there. Sorry, I was just running around the kitchen.
Thank you, Daz. Sorry, I couldn't. I was doing, like I said,
In your Skype as well. So
yeah, male pattern blindness. I was looking in the cupboards. I was looking straight at it, and I was like, I can't find it.
you're male. You're forgiven. It's genetics. I like that.
Yeah, it's
Let's
very
see.
recognizable.
Right. Okay. Enough. With the gallery music. Yeah. I will get that link open. Thank you. It's Peruvian court indicting Bill Gates.
Is that the one you was? Yeah. Is that the one you? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Because I know I'd seen it when I was scrolling through the Skype, and then when I actually went looking for it, it was just like, I can't see it. Right, screen share. This is the amazing, total professionality of the StreamYard broadcasting that I'm doing, Right, okay, now we got it. Yeah, I can see it on there.
Been indicted.
A Peruvian court indicted Bill Gates, Soros, and Rockefeller. Right, could have been Rothschild or something else. Yeah. This is on archive.com. I'm not sure how you're supposed to meant to pronounce that. Peruvian court affirmed in a ruling based on conspiracy theories. Based on conspiracy theories that the coronavirus, it was a creation of the is this written by a non-native language speaker? Creation of the criminal elites worldwide, made up according to the judges of this court by billionaires such as Soros, Rockefeller, and Bill Gates. It could just be that it's not an English language speaker, but makes me a little bit dubious about the veracity of this information. Could be a bullshit website, could be bullshit news. But yeah, we'd have to try and find some other corroboration of that. There's no links either going to.
Oh, I do apologise. I'm quite sure.
That's probably the WHO.
I see he's got the blue shirt on with the collar undone. He must be a man of the people, after all.
These ones are just internal links to their own other articles. Yeah, no external links to back up what they're claiming. But you never know. It could be completely accurate, but I'm just sort of pointing out some of the bits about it. I'd want some more confirmation for that, please.
Yeah.
Well, there are a couple more court cases going. In Germany, there's a legal battle going against the German version of the what's the name in the UK? I don't know. NHS, I guess.
Yeah, the medical.
To make up the rules about COVID, those guys. But
that'd be the National Health Department, what they're called now, because they changed the name again recently, didn't they?
Yeah. So they have been building up court cases to go to court. So over the, those things take a little bit time to do, but
there were various articles recently in the UK press as well talking about how some of the medical staff are concerned that they're going to get prosecuted because of the way situations have played out. And I'm pretty sure the BBC covered it with the usual kind of emotional appeal of like, these people have been working so hard in the hospitals, and now crazy people online are threatening to bring legal cases against them and stuff like that.
No.
Trying to use the appeal to emotion to get people to start attacking the whistleblowers, that have been coming out, pointing out the inconsistencies of the hospital care or lack of care.
Well,
And
the
the care
EU
homes
has
as well.
taken away the liability on the vaccine, so where else would you go?
Yeah.
Right?
In a
government?
legal sense, it would be the person holding the syringe.
Yeah.
Yeah, in this case, because the Pfizers and those guys are exempt from all liability. And the EU did it. I don't know if the UK did it, but it probably did. Otherwise, they would not get away with it. So
it was part of the stipulation of them accepting Bojo's invitation to bring the vaccine in early.
Yeah.
They said, okay, we'll let you have it early than everyone else, but you've got to give us, complete free from liability clause.
Wow. It's amazing. People don't realize they do have the choice. It's just they roll it out.
They pushed that through in 10 days.
Yeah,
10
they
days.
roll it out like fish and chips.
Push it
It's
through.
good fit. It's really good.
Yeah.
Get this.
Pfizer said, well, we have a vaccine, we have something, but, and 10 days later, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And no debate, no public asking or whatever, vote on it.
Deals are done.
Similar to what we were saying earlier about why do the police ask you loads of questions at a rapid pace? Part of the reason why, even though for me, I've talked about, kicking the can down the road and all that lot for most of this year, because that's what they've been doing. But at the same time, they've pushed the agenda very rapidly. They've introduced these measures very rapidly because they know that kind of shock and awe effect on most of the public means before they've realised what's been done, the changes have been implemented and put in place.
Oh yeah, before these court cases are done, you're years and years and years.
Yeah. It's going to be multiple years, definitely, before some of these cases even reach the court, let alone get any kind of ruling on them. Yeah, that could just be.
Don't get your hopes up, but there is stuff going on. There are doctors and lawyers and working on cases where they
I know
the right questions and point to the research that's fucking flawed as hell.
I know earlier I was talking about a kind of house of cards falling in, like even the judiciary won't accept a court case on these kind of questions, but it's a process that could happen. As in, it doesn't. I'm not trying to insist or put across that it is an impossibility. It's not impossible that this situation could be turned around. I didn't want to give that impression. They know that once
for a large part, it's already too late.
Well, I mean, in the sense of like that, I showed it earlier. I'll put it up on screen again, just to aid in the visualization of the explanation. They know that once you pull the card out from lower down the pyramid, I don't know why this has got toad boxes, that thread will lead up to the top, so the whole house of cards comes down. But it doesn't necessarily need to happen that way. That's their perception of how their infrastructure is so real. You can't
playing Jenga.
In a way, but their mindset is such that you cannot exist without their infrastructure. This is part of how they've used fear against people for so long. It's like the constant argument against anarchism and using the word anarchy in completely wrong definition for the majority of its use. When you hear it in the media, it's always meant to imply chaos and violence and destruction. That's how they use the word, which is deliberate to give you the wrong impression of what it means. And the constant political argument of like, oh, well, if you don't have us, if you don't have this political system, then everything could be anarchy and it'd be dogs living with cats and it'd be the end of the world. Their perception is that you cannot exist without their infrastructure. So I'm talking from kind of like their point of view of if you pull that one card out, the whole house of cards comes down. That doesn't mean it's the end of the world, literally. It's just the end of your perception of what you thought the world was. That's what dies off. That illusion dies off. That's the ego death kind of thing that some people would describe it as. That means that there could be court cases in the future. There could be people brought to trial or even put in prison or whatever, face some kind of culpability for what they've done, or be held to account for their culpability in participating in this. But I don't want people to be under the impression, like getting stuck in the bargaining phase of thinking that, all you need to do is just, prosecute the nurse who injected you with the inoculation, the medical treatment, and that will solve all the problems. No, it won't. Will it? That will not solve the fucking situation, and it's not an end to the scam, to the bullshit. So we'll see how things develop. It could change.
After World War I, we banned biological warfare, and it's now 100 years later, and we're back at
square one.
Square one. Full circle.
It never really went away. They just hid it.
Yeah. It's a different animal now. Like it's under a different disguise.
Yeah.
But
it's still the same. And
same shit.
I mentioned this earlier before we started broadcasting. I sort of called it the Thanos plan. And I know I've sort of ranted about this over most of last year and the year before, near enough. The pre-programming and the foreshadowing that was deliberately included in the cultural media, the things like all the superhero movies and the way they led the public, the viewing public of those movies, meaningless to you, but they led the viewing public in this direction towards this concept of let's get rid of a load of people because they're useless eaters. That was Thanos's plan, in those superhero storylines. His intention was, there's too many useless eaters. They're overcrowding us. They're eating up all the resources. So we'll just snap my fingers and get rid of half of them. Now, they put that eugenics idea into the cultural media and trendified it to such a degree that they're in a classic Ikean problem reaction solution process. They've led a lot of the public to this situation where they are outright demanding that everyone gets vaccinated, because if they don't, they're horrible, nasty people that want to kill their granny. That's that process of getting people to ignore, because it's not nescience, it's ignorance. They're choosing to ignore the eugenics connection to that concept, and they're internalizing it and saying, yeah, what a great idea. There's all these elderly people. If we just allow these pharmaceutical companies to surreptitiously kill them off, then there'll be more space for the rest of us. There'll be more resources for us. That's Thanos' plan, But they've tricked a lot of the public into not realizing that is what they are participating in. I know. I'll give this a mention as well. The other day on UK Column, they talked about this. I need to find me picture so I can screen share it just to make the point. I didn't use it for the thumbnail this week for this deliberate reason, because of the fact that it seems to have got some people into legal problems. Where's my original one? Rather than the
talking
one
about
totally did.
Piers Corbyn, are you? Sharing
yes.
The image, yes. I did see that, yeah.
And I thought it was very interesting that, it's not an impossibility, but Piers Corbyn claims that he came up with the concept. I can't find my original, so I'm going to share the one that Dottie did for me. But it's better because he's obviously done it more accurately, so the image itself looks better. But yeah, he claimed it was his idea, and he got an artist to do a drawn interpretation of it, rather than using, like I did, I used the original photograph, or an original photograph of the site. And this was the site of Auschwitz, with the signage over the gate that said Arbig McFry, as far as I remember, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. You know, basically that classic phrase of work makes freedom or labor makes freedom. In other words, you go into this camp, but as long as you work and do what you're required to, you will be allowed out again. You know, and I made the connotation, I don't know how long ago, last year, early
Long time ago. Yeah, it was a while ago, I think.
And all I did was get an original photograph of the gate, and using a crappy paint program, I just scrawled over the top there saying vaccine. And like I said, Dottie's done a much better quality version. Yeah, vaccine McFry. But they're claiming that Piers Corbyn come up with the idea, and he's now got into legal trouble for suggesting such a terrible concept of, you know, the vaccine is just like being put in a concentration camp. Well, I'm sorry, but it is. But it's a national concentration camp now. It's an open-air prison concentration camp. Where
it's surprising there haven't been anti-Semitic accusations levelled.
That has, yeah. It's same as I'm pretty certain that because they use that imagery of the rally, you know, the one that's the thumbnail for the show usually each week. I'm sure that attracts that kind of attention of people thinking this is some kind of neo-Nazi thing and we're all anti-Semitics or anti-Semites. You know, that would be the usual mainstream argument thrown in our direction. And I'm saying our because obviously it's not just me here doing this. You know, it's not just me participating in this. But I know that they'd throw those usual kind of accusations. That's an easy spin for them. You know, they'll just claim that we're all crazy tinfoil hatters on the internet. We're all just neo-Nazis and neo-fascists and all this kind of shit. It's like, okay, whatever. You really haven't listened at all. You're just looking at a headline, basically. But yeah, I found it interesting that that's been happening over the last few weeks as well. You know, that he's been getting himself into trouble for making what is an obvious correlation. You know, I'm not literally saying that you are being sent back in time to go into the Auschwitz concentration camp. But the implications of the correlation between that situation and the situation we find ourselves in now, where they are telling us that we will have to have some kind of ID, a passport, to show our medical condition, our medical history, whether it's, you know, connected to the COVID or not. It's just the fact that you can show if you've been tested or you've been vaccinated or you're exempt, etc., etc. And no, they don't need to mandate it because the private sector, in a fascist system, the private sector is the tool of the state anyway. So the private sector will implement it, and then the state can sit back and go, see, it wasn't us. We didn't make it legal. We didn't mandate anything. It's just the corporations are showing that the people choose to have this thing, whereas the choice wasn't made freely with informed consent. Yeah. So again, the correlation of the similarity of the situation to why did they come up with the Geneva Convention? Why? Because of that situation at that time where people were being forcibly experimented on, where they had no free and informed choice of whether they were going to have something injected into them or not. And that's rapidly becoming the same situation we're in now. They keep telling us you're going to have choice, that it's not going to be mandated, while at the same time they keep implementing the situation such that it pretty much is mandated. And if you look at the wording of the Geneva Convention, it says that you cannot be coerced by any means. So in other words, if they are financially coercing you, that's in breach of the Geneva Convention. So if they tell you no job, no jab, that's a breach of the Geneva Convention. So where is these similarities not proving true? And it's nothing to do with being neo-Nazi or anti-Semite or any shit like that. It's to do with tyranny. Yeah, it could have been Mongolians in that camp. It could have been Irish people in that camp. You know, it could have been the Boers during the Boer War in the concentration camps. They got put. Doesn't matter who it was that was in the camp. It's the fact that the camp was used and it had those kind of restrictions on it. We now find ourselves in a national camp. Yeah. Are you free to move around at will by your choice? No. Are they now implementing situations where you are being required in one form or another to have some kind of proof of your health condition, whether you've been vaccinated or not, etc.?
I
So
think, well,
how is it not vaccine, Max Fry?
I think you said it well when you said that, like, enforced by corporatism as well. You know what I mean? Like, it's not necessarily, I'm not necessarily saying, oh, it's enforced. It's something you've got to have. It's, but what they're saying is, if you don't take it, good luck trying to find a job. Good luck trying to fly and go on holiday and live the life that you've been accustomed to live for the rest of your life there. You know? And
that's why I was making the point about the inserting the idea into the cultural media in such a way that for a lot of people, in particular the demographics that usually have no interest in politics or being involved in any of those kind of political questions, or certainly not anything to do with political ideologies like eugenics, they had the idea put into their mind and they were encouraged to consider, well, who is expendable? And now we're in a situation where there's a lot of people that are being pushed off this reality ride, this roller coaster ride. They're being pushed off because they're considered expendable.
It seems you're talking about expendable people there. I remember I was reading a book about the Holocaust, and we can all have different thoughts about that event or whatever, right? I'm just saying, there was the word I came across. It was, Peter may be able to help us out and all. It was ballast existing, right? And if I can remember it right, but it was a German word or whatever at the time. It meant like the people that couldn't work. See, like the prisoners or whatever that couldn't work, like they were the ones that were set to be fucking exterminated or whatever. And I like the ballast on a, see, like a hot air balloon or whatever. Now like throwing the ballast over.
Yeah.
Now just like dead weight. You know what I mean? Like useless eaters as well. That was another term I heard at the time, and that just kind of shocked me at the time. You know what I mean? Like the ideology of that. You know, just thinking of somebody is just a fucking carrier bag. You know what I mean? Just an utter like nothing. You know what I mean? Like a subhuman being. You know what I mean? Like an inanimate object.
Yeah, it's a dark agenda, isn't it? That's satanic. It's like it has no value in human life at all. It's very not. It's not spiritual. It's not. It's just something else that doesn't think the way we do. Yeah.
It doesn't have the spirit infused into it.
No.
So it cannot experience this reality in the same way as a living being does, because it's not been infused with that spirit of animation, of free will animation. Yeah? Yeah. It's mechanical, it's clockwork in many ways. Even though it's good at disguising itself and it's good at illusion, really it's mechanical, it's systematic. And that's why it can be predictable. You can predict its behavior because it is so mechanical. Real living creatures act in a way that can often surprise you. Yeah? Nature appears with a surprise, you know, whereas they operate in a very mechanistic fashion. So you can, once you've figured out how the machine works, you can predict what it's going to do next.
Well, 70 years ago, they would have started a world war to cull the herd and to make drastic changes in society. And you know, you look at pre-war UK or the Netherlands, and after the war, you know, it's totally different. And we are now, they have just another tool in their arsenal. It's the medical, it's the DNA, it's the programmable demise of groups targeted. They can, I think, by the color of your eyes, they could select you and decide to keep you or not. If you have blue eyes and blonde hair, you could be lucky.
I know we talked about this more than a few times over the years. I think it's just appropriate at the moment while we're chatting about this kind of thing. What do you think about the I'll call it the reality that we are already in World War III. And really what we're experiencing is an element of that world war already taking place. In effect, those elderly that are being killed off, they're on what is now the new front line. You know, it's not like old-fashioned style conventional warfare. Now it is more psychological and covert and corporate espionage and things like that.
Fear.
It's more and more clinical how they do it. It's like targeted, so they don't have to drop a bomb on a city or burn it down or
They just have to
starve a city or do shit like that.
They just lobby enough politicians to influence legislation that creates a situation where the majority of the people receiving the vaccine or being found in hospital are put onto DNR, which means they're gonna die. Yeah. That means they didn't need to send troops there to shoot those people. No, they just sent a piece of paper to the right department that caused that effect to roll out through that part of the system. So now we've got a situation where people are being ignorant. I keep saying ignorant because there is a difference between having no knowledge of something and being aware of it but choosing to ignore it, to not give it any attention. People being ignorant to the fact that they're watching other members of their society gradually being killed off. Just because they're not being lined up against the wall and shot doesn't mean they're not being killed off.
Well, see that I wasn't even going to say this, right? But see what we've got now. I think that very soon, sooner than we think, we're going to look back at the things that we've got now as a luxury, a paradise of luxuries. Sorry, our freedoms and what. But even though most days are struggling to get by because we've been fucked about for the last year, been told things are reopening, and then just when we think things are getting back on their feet, then they're pulling the rug from under your feet again. But maybe I'm a bit negative, but I do think that's the way it's going. Know what I mean? To be quite honest with you.
It's only another 2 weeks to flatten that curve, Days. Come on. With the program. Yeah. They would never lie to us. About those buildings falling down, remember?
Yeah.
They
never lied to you about the laws of physics.
Yeah, did they ever
Disney
find those
WMDs
WMDs under Bush's desk?
When you think World War III started, honestly, I think it started. Definitely.
I got a perfect picture of that. What WMDs?
It's in full swing, isn't it? It's someone put in the comments. It's Patrick put. It's like using silent weapons. Quiet wars. It's like this is what's going on.
A lot of that stuff was included in that document. What they call like multi-spectrum asymmetrical warfare. It doesn't come for you front on using conventional weaponry and troops. No, it's coming from every direction using every possible angle they can use. So that's why we've got Brigade 77, whatever. The
Bill
war
Cooper.
This time is not against another nation because they don't want to disrupt the world's infrastructure. They know that if they start a full-on conventional war, it will disrupt the current global infrastructure. And what they want is that one world system to carry on. So they don't want to tip the table over, but instead the threat, the enemy, is the population. Because the population is where the real power lies. And if that population ever realizes its own true power, their game is over. The table gets put away. There is no more one world system with them sat on top of it. So that's why their new war, their World War III, is against all of us, not another nation.
It's mass psychological on a global scale. It's not just England. This is every country, apart from the ones that aren't bowing down to it, which is it Tanzania? That's where I'm going for my holiday. If I can find a pilot and a plane to take me there.
Is everybody going to the Isle of Man this year?
Oh yeah, they're all pubs are all over.
See if we can fit the entire population of the UK on the Isle of Man.
They won't let you on or off, apparently.
Yeah, that's insane. Absolutely insane. Bill Cooper in Behold a Pale Horse wrote about that silent weapons for quiet wars as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've got the book up on my shelf.
I've got the book. I've got digital actually. I think it's on one of my hard drives.
Definitely worth checking into all his stuff if people haven't heard of him before. William Cooper or Bill Cooper. I think the very first video that's on my channel, like the first one in the list, if YouTube will actually show you, you know, whether it's been shadow banned or whatever, I wonder with some of the videos on my channel, because they've got like a handful of views on them and they've been there for years. But there's one presentation that he did about the UN back in the 90s, and that was one of the first videos that I put up on this channel.
Thank
you.
you.
Can have a listen to that.
Dr. Rock has just sent over an MP3 version of it. Wonderful. Cheers, Ben. You are a star. Thank you so much. Yeah. And it's funny that Alex Jones has written a book called Behold a Pale Horse, you know? Now, why would he do that?
Bit like Tesla.
Yeah.
How do you misdirect people, and how do you steadily rewrite history in such a way that most people don't notice it's being rewritten? You usurp and appropriate the information and the names of the people who pass on that information.
Yep.
So that in the future, when somebody says Tesla, everybody will think of Elon Musk.
Yeah, it's like
when somebody says "Behold a Pale Horse," they'll look it up online and they'll get links to the Alex Jones shit.
Yeah, I found that out last night. Actually, last night, the night before, I think I was looking for something called Codex Alimentarius by Rima Rainbow, and I put in Rima Rainbow, and it came up this group with all of these rapping songs, and I was like, "What? Where the hell did that come from?" So yeah, I had to really scroll down to actually I'm right near the bottom to find Rima Rainbow Codex Alimentarius. So and that's all about the vitamins and minerals and everything that's going into drugs and that. Yeah, Codex Alimentarius. Highly recommend people go look that up, because pretty soon coming down the pipe will be, you want anything with vitamins and minerals, it will be prescription, and they'll want to know why.
Oh, right. I was going to say that that actual part of the agenda had already been implemented.
Oh, yeah.
That was passed, like, when was it? I think it might have been
2012. A few years back.
Yeah, a few years ago now.
Yeah. So I remember us talking about it on one of the
we used to mention it quite a bit, because they were deeming sort of herbal medicines, things like this, have been used for thousands of years as toxic, and things like that. Limit the amount you could have.
A lot of them have been replaced with synthetic products rather than original natural products.
Yeah. So there was in that she talks about the dosages. So basically, like, they give you the very minimal amount that barely does next to nothing. So whatever the recommendations are on the bottle, I normally double it.
Well, vitamin C is one that they've massively reduced. Things like that.
Yeah, that's why they just produce 1,000 milligrams max.
That's it.
But your body needs at least 2,000 plus upwards. So, like I said, everything that they tell you, okay, we'll take 15 mil of this. Yeah, take 30, because they give you the very minimum dose that does literally hardly anything at all. Not enough to get you well. But Rima Rainbow explains it a lot better than I could. So, highly recommend people go and look that up. So, and thank you, Tony. Tony's also put a video in there. Bill Cooper, and he's also put the link to Reality Chat channel for tomorrow. For Wednesday. Thank you, Tony.
Yeah, Wednesday. Yeah, don't switch the days on.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.
A quick note on that kind of stuff before we get close to closing up the show is that, yes, as far as I can tell, YouTube is shadow banning some of the stuff on this channel, and we're pretty confident they're doing the same on the Reality Chat channel.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, I still can't post the links.
I know.
Yeah. And I think that's probably, true. It's probably happening to a lot of the channels that are doing similar kind of content. So if you tried to post comments or links and they're not showing up, please don't lose your temper at the channel host, the channel creator. It's probably nothing to do with them. It's YouTube, and it is somewhat arbitrary. There doesn't seem to be any real rhyme or reason to it, other than you're probably on some kind of list, or the content you're trying to link is on some kind of list. So it's getting auto blocked by the system. We tried various things. We checked settings and whatever, and it's just not happening. We tried to post links and stuff, and they just don't show up. Yep. So yeah, that kind of shit is happening. Be aware that these platforms are only available to us while they're available to us. And they can move the goalposts all the fucking time. So.
Ben's also dropped a link to the PDF version. So, yeah, I've just dropped that in as well. Thank you, Ben. You are a star.
Can you please put the link in again for the Post-Truth Media for Dr. Rock's show, or just for the Post-Truth Media page? So
Ben,
can find Dr. Rock's show on there.
Yeah, Ben, you got that link.
I've got it as well if I pull it up. So we'll be back again on Wednesday night.
Cheers, Tony.
Tony got it.
Yeah,
cool. Thanks, mate. I was multitasking, trying to open it up on a separate tab. We'll be back on Wednesday night on Reality Chat channel, chatting again about all this kind of stuff, most likely.
Yeah.
And some of the news events. Maybe we'll have a whole lot more to talk about by then, with just the pace that things are happening at, and some of the stories and articles and that are coming out. Yeah, I'm sure we'll have tons to talk about. And Steve Tagoose will be on Thursday night with the mystery show. And I know Raconteur's News is usually on Mondays and Tuesdays, isn't it? As far as I remember. And obviously there's lots of other shows going at the moment. There's lots of other broadcasts and content creators. There's loads of good stuff happening. Obviously with the restrictions of YouTube, but don't think that nobody's saying nothing, because that ain't true. People are saying stuff. It's just that often they end up having to do it on other platforms, because this place is just a mess of manipulation and censorship. So that's what I was looking for. All right, just want to show this before we finish up. Thanks to James for sharing this. Chat room ninja, if he's around lurking.
He'll be lurking.
I've got to share this one last image before we go. This is the latest variant that's now being reported. They've been playing this game of, you think you're safe now? No, there's a new mutation. Well, now they've found the worst one yet. This is the latest variant. Now we know
where
why
this is going. This is
now we know why Hadrian built that wall. Yeah.
I love that.
I think that's brilliant. They showed it earlier on the UK column, and they were suggesting that I can't remember her name now. Nini's the woman up in Scotland who was telling the police to stop being idiots, basically. Somebody suggested that she should start getting them made as little key fobs and selling them, because I'm sure they would sell really well. Yeah, somebody's got a 3D printer that they could print them out and then just paint them up. I'm always giving away business ideas, but whatever.
I'm just gonna drop the link in there also to that lady's channel with the Scottish shop owner's story. So I'm just gonna put that link in there. Well worth a listen.
Thanks to everyone tuning in, and all the usual suspects in the chat room. Thanks for joining in. I'm sure we'll chat again soon. I'll be back next week as usual. And as I said, Wednesday and Thursday, etc. I think you know the routine by now. And we'll see you again soon. So thanks for everyone joining in.
Thanks for hosting,
cheers.
Cookie. Please
Thanks for
share
being
all our
on.
links, while we still can, because I don't know whether we'll be able to post them after. So, if you grab them while they were being posted, then brilliant. But thank you, and thanks for joining us all, and cheers for all your banter and your chatting. Love yous all.
And ignore the paradox of the title saying "Remain indoors,"
No.
and then I'm showing you an image of a tree.
Messing with my head.
Yeah. Thanks again, folks. Take care. Don't believe all the bullshit.
Cheers.
Cut cheese.